resident alien.
Capcom, a video game company that I've long had a love-hate relationship with. It seems like for every one of their games that have infiltrated my heart as a beloved classic, for every awesome breakthrough they've made in gaming history, they seem to constantly turn around and do something I either just don't understand or downright despise. That being said, despite having delved pretty deep into their catalog over the years, there's one major series of theirs that I've somehow still yet to touch. Well, after many requests, mostly from one particularly weaponized penguin, I finally decided to take a dive into the Phoenix Wright series, but on my own terms.
Objection!
First off, from what little I know of the series, the game involves a lot of reading, which makes me think that this is honestly something that's better played off-stream for the sake of my voice. That's why we're doing a review. Secondly, since I've already picked up a copy of the Japanese-only Wii physical release while visiting Akihabara, I've decided to play that one for the review out of convenience. That means I had to do a little bit of research to help get myself up to speed. And by that I mean I basically just asked Fact to tell me some stuff. Phoenix Wright is our titular main character, a seasoned defense attorney who specializes in winning cases for his clients just when it seems like all hope has been lost. Mia Fey is another defense attorney who acts both as Wright's boss as well as his mentor. Maya Fey is Mia's younger sister and a sort of sidekick to Phoenix. Apollo Justice is a newer lawyer who has taken under Phoenix Wright's wing recently. Well, this seems like enough research for now. I'm sure we'll learn the other characters' names as we go on, so let's get started. Speaking of character names, keep in mind that even though there's English subtitles, this version will be using the Japanese version of their names, but I'll just call them by their English names to keep things from getting too confusing. The game actually begins with the TV-style opening, which is pretty neat, but I'm not sure if I can play it all the way here, lest I upset the righteous copy demons. The game has 5 cases in total, each starting with an opening cutscene that usually sets in motion the events of a crime or mystery. In the first case, for instance, we see a building fire which gets erroneously pinned on Phoenix's good friend Larry Butts. I was actually surprised to find that much of the game is fully voice acted, so a lot of the time it almost feels like you're playing through an episode of a cartoon rather than a visual novel.
Birdman! Pant! You're half of the duplex! It burned down!
The game has a few different avenues in terms of gameplay, the most basic being a series of multiple choice options you're occasionally given that lead to different cutscenes. These can range from something as serious as convincing the police not to arrest an innocent squirrel civilian, to helping Phoenix solve a crossword puzzle in his leisure.
7-letter word for long and hard. Starts with an A.
You can always go for the most appropriate answer right away, but admittedly, choosing the sillier answer often results in a funnier cutscene, like Apollo here making a joke at Phoenix's expense.
What does long and hard have to do with arousal?
Well, Harvey, if you don't know the answer to that by now, it's safe to say you never will.
Most of the cases also have point-and-click segments where you search around different locations for clues, evidence, or even key items to help you find further clues or evidence. An example being when Phoenix Wright is investigating who ransacked his office and discovers Detective Gumshoe's death ray as a sort of smoking gun. It's missing one of its vital components, however, so Phoenix must pay a visit to Gumshoe's home, which is disturbingly smothered with Phoenix Wright miscellanea, in order to find the piece needed to activate the death ray, which we decide we want to do for some reason. The real center of the game, however, takes place in the courtroom itself, where we must defend our various clients using items of interest and profiles we've collected during the other gameplay segments to prove their innocence. Here we go up against a few of Phoenix Wright's most classic prosecutor rivals. This includes Miles Edgeworth, a pompous double-talker whose slurred speech even confuses the subtitles.
If you wouldn't mind, jury and the world, your total and complete guilt in this case.
And Godot, a cool-headed robo-lawyer who loves to deadpan sass.
It doesn't take a real lawyer to see this duck is innocent.
So, are you claiming that you're not a real lawyer, Birdman?
One thing I was disappointed in was the blatant lack of fan-favorite antagonist, Franziska von Karma.
Yes, our founding fathers were certainly comfortable with the idea of the lute or the fiddle, but how could they have foreseen the fretless bass? No!
Who you sadly never face off against in the courtroom, and is instead only relegated to a few bit appearances. My best guess as to why this happened is because von Karma's original voice actor, Stephen Colbert, was unable to reprise his role for this game. Though to be honest, his other replaced role of Mia Fey was much more noticeable, and we get to hear plenty from that character.
Put on the table each day. The dangers of the job. The sexy dangers. Like a crocodile in a miniskirt.
Luckily for Wright, he isn't alone when going up against these other lawyers, as he often gets in-courtroom help from his assistant Apollo Justice and his self-proclaimed sidekick Maya Fey. Or at least she tries to help Wright as much as she can. Sometimes she accidentally helps his opponent instead.
Girl to the rescue! I found a new piece of evidence. It's a cigarette lighter with the initials PP engraved on the side. I found it at your house, Birdman.
A cigarette lighter with Mr. Pottermus's initials on it at the scene of the conflagration.
It's in the cross-examination portions of the game where making the right move is the most vital, as presenting the wrong piece of evidence in the wrong place or time can cost you a life, represented by Wright's famous bird crest. Lose all of your lives and you have to restart from your last save point. I have to say that this part of the game could be quite difficult at times, since sometimes you know that you have a piece of evidence that should be brought up after hearing a claim someone has just made, but it could be uncertain exactly which part of their statement you need to apply it to. Make sure to search extra hard during the point and click sections, because if you're lucky, you can find extra bird crests to help with this. One thing that's really cool is that since Phoenix Wright is a Capcom title, they've included a number of cameos from various Street Fighter characters, though some of these can be missed if you don't make the right selections that lead to them, so keeping an Easter egg guide handy during your playthrough wouldn't be a bad idea.
Have you attempted to use the lighter? This is nothing more than one of those trick lighters that squirt water. Here, let me show the court. So, as you can plainly see, that man is on fire, and therefore this is not a trick lighter.
Discovering these cameos even unlocks bonus content that's accessible from the main menu, which includes a blooper reel and a montage of various running gags throughout the series, such as Phoenix Wright's famous catchphrase, "I'll take the case."
I'll take the case.
Say you'll take the case.
I'll take the case. I'll take the case. I'll take the case. I'll take the case.
If it wasn't obvious, Phoenix Wright is not a game that takes itself very seriously, with preposterous scenarios such as Phoenix having his own duplex burned down, and then having to defend his friend Larry, who admitted to roasting some marshmallows on the fire, but not being the one responsible for starting it. One case has a trial that takes place in a hot tub, which seems to be in jest, but you can actually fail due to the life system coming into play. And there's even an episode where Phoenix gets called out for forgetting to bring his legal license to court and gets sent straight to prison, where you must try to survive the inmate life until one of your allies can find your license. If you're looking for a game with epic courtroom drama and tear-jerking character moments, Phoenix Wright may not be for you. But if you're into absurdist humor and you're willing to deal with often nonsensical methods to progress through the court of law, this isn't too bad. You can get through the 5 cases fairly quickly, maybe in about 4 or 5 hours at the most, but the various options do give you a little bit of replay value. Just remember to save before attempting those cross-examinations. Well, that was Phoenix Wright for the Wii. Now, I wasn't super impressed with the game overall, but it did have charm to it, and it was humorous at times. The characters seemed to focus more on silliness rather than actually having depth, but overall, I do... This is Harvey Birdman.